Welcome to HALFY HOUR, a Scripts Gone Wild spinoff where we sit down with the folks who help make our reads happen, shoot the shit for a while, and see where it goes. I'm your host, Billy Ray Bruton, and with us today is an actress known for films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Nightmare on Elm Street, Better Off Dead, Hunter's Moon, and TV series like Highlander, CSI, and Murder in the First, Amanda Wyss.
Hey!
Hello. Thank you very much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
And what drink did you choose for us to sip on today during this discussion?
Today is vodka and soda.
Vodka and soda. What about vodka and soda appeals to you?
Well, you know what? First of all, I like vodka because it's light, but a lot of the cocktails I like are made with vodka. I like martinis, a vodka martini. I like vodka and vodka soda. It tastes refreshing. It tastes like makes me feel like I'm sitting on a veranda or something, having like something fancy, especially during the day.
Yeah, and right now, transporting to verandas is a nice respite from
I know, from quarantine. I
Yeah.
know. I'm just like, and I have to say, this quarantine has made me realize that I think I'm sort of a natural introvert that wants to be home all the time, because I notice that I am not in that much distress. I mean, I am strangely not in distress. And, if I feel like I need to go outside, I go for a walk. And Steven, who I live with, he does all of our foraging. Like, I don't go to the stores or anything. I make the list and he goes, I have no desire.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
No, I don't think so. My roommate and I talk a lot about how we feel like we're thriving right now. And it's not that I'm necessarily an introvert. It's just, I feel like I've found coping mechanisms and ways to be productive during this. And so I'm worried now that once things shift back to normalcy, that productivity is going to start diminishing.
Well, I hope not. I think we're all learning a new normal that I think is going to be around for quite a while. I think even after here in LA, I think in 3 weeks they're opening everything up or whatever. The thing is, I still don't think, I will order food from a restaurant. I don't want anybody to go under, but I have no desire to go out and mingle. I just don't. I really don't. And I see my friends on Zoom and I don't know, it's strange. I'm sure at some point I'll be like, let me out, but I don't feel, because I feel the same way. I feel like I've gotten a lot done and I've read a million books and I still take my yoga every day. I cook a lot. I feel social, even though I guess it's basically through Zoom, but I see all my neighbors at 6 feet away. And of course I have Steve, so I'm not alone. I don't know, it's kind of strange.
Cooking has been sort of a nice grounding thing for me. I like cooking anyway. I always have. So and lately it's just been, I cook, 3 times a day, full meals. So
what things do you like to cook?
Oh, I'm from the South, so a lot of it is sort of Southern staples. Like I love cooking meatloaf. I love cooking fried chicken and country fried steak and my mother's version of goulash.
Oh, how do you do your country fried steak?
Oh, well, I use cube steak. That's what my dad always used when I was a kid. And so I use that and then just do a beer batter and then make a white country gravy to go on top of it, like black pepper gravy.
So when this is all over, what time's dinner?
Exactly. Well, tonight I'm making hamburger steaks. I'm going to make mashed sweet potatoes, and then I'm going to do skillet corn.
Oh, I love skillet corn. You fry it up?
Oh yeah, fry it in a cast iron skillet with jalapenos and onions, and it's good.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really good.
So I love cooking. Yeah, anything I can cook is a good thing. I made a banana pudding yesterday.
Oh, nice. I find it really relaxing, and it makes some meals that takes me all day to prepare. Like different things, or if I'm making bread, how that takes all day. I find it really cathartic, and I like that you start it. It's just creative and you get to see the end product. And I mean, I miss filming desperately, but
Sure.
That's going to happen when it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I'm curious because you chose this drink and I've been sitting here now that I've been drinking it. It's reminding me of something and I'm curious I feel like in my friend group, I'm the only human being who remembers what a Zima was.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know? Okay, then there we go. Then I must be the only one in the world who remembers Zima.
What is it?
They were these little malt liquor, almost, what do you call them? Like a Bartles and James. What do you call those?
Oh, like a wine cooler?
Yeah, that's it. They were like a wine cooler, but they were like clear. They tasted like Sprite almost, and they
Yes,
had
I remember those.
silver and blue bottles.
Yes.
And
what happened to those? Did they just go out of business?
I think they still make Zima. I think that they're just in a limited capacity. I think it's more of a novelty now than it is like we're an actual wine. But this was I was sitting here drinking this, thinking this reminds me of a Zima, which no one ever remembers.
What's so funny? Right when you said it, I was like, no, I don't remember. And I was like, oh wait, that sounds familiar. And then the other drink I like, is it a Moscow Mule? That's with
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Dark and Stormy is with rum. It's basically the same drink, but it's and what else do I like with vodka? I like vodka grapefruit juice. I like dirty martinis.
Oh yeah, I love a dirty martini.
I like.
I'm a big tiki drink guy. Like I love tiki bars, so anything with a tiki theme, I'm usually down for.
You know what? Aren't they fun? It's like Stephen and I went to this thing last year, this event called 80s in the Sand, and it was in the Dominican Republic, and it was really fun. There was all these bands from the 80s, and they had me, Robert Romanis, and Diane Franklin, and Curtis Armstrong, and anyway, we got to stay there for a week, and Stephen and we started drinking like anything that was blue, anything that came with umbrellas, and Steve's not a big drinker, not a day drinker at all, but it was really, really fun because it's like you don't get to do that very often. Have like fun cocktails by the pool.
And tiki drinks are very deceptive. Like they pack a wallop without you realizing, because they look so fruity and fun, but then you're halfway through, you're like, oh wow, this thing's loaded.
Yeah, I'm a one and done.
I want to ask you about something, and I gave you a warning about it because
I almost wore my hat.
Because I am a notorious and staunch lover of the film Shakma. Because I don't think there are enough. I'm also a big Congo fan. I don't think there are enough movies about killer primates or monkeys.
There's really not. Yeah.
And I'm curious, how the hell did Shakma happen?
I don't know. I remember I had done a movie. There were these two brothers, Hugh and the Parks brothers. Hugh was the director, and the other, oh my gosh, and the other one, my mind's gone blank. He was the producer. And I'd done a movie with them the year before Shakma with Andrew Stevens and Mary Crosby down in Florida. And they were these guys that had struck gold. They were these mountain boys that struck gold on their property and decided to make movies. I mean, their story is like straight. The movies should have been about these two guys that decided to make films. But so the following year, they offered me Shakma, and they sent me the script, and I was like, wow. So this is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons meets, I don't even know. Like it was, it's just a good monster story, really. And I was like, and then the cast, like when they told me who was already cast, and I was like, Roddy McDowell's doing this. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then Shakma, whose real name was Typhoon. I think it was Typhoon. And he was owned by or cared for by this guy named Ronnie, or oh my gosh, I'm missing everybody's names. I want to say Ronnie Cox, but I think Ronnie Cox is an actor, but something Cox. Yeah. And he ended up not being there, and his one of his employees, this guy, ended up being like the wrangler for Typhoon. I think, gosh, I wish I could remember Shakma's name. Somebody can check it. But so it was interesting. So we get down there. It was Christopher Atkins, Roddy McDowell, Ari Myers, a couple other people I forget now. And I don't know. It was just like on one hand, we had so much fun. We all went miniature golfing every night because there wasn't much to do where we were staying. And then on the weekends, they would take us out on these boats, and we'd go through all the swampy Everglade stuff and look for like alligators and snakes, and it was just crazy. And so I started having nightmares. Not that Shakma was going to get me, but that I would go to get on the elevator and there'd be an alligator standing there. So every time I get in the elevator, I was like, I'm going to be eaten by an alligator. But I was terrified of the baboon. Terrified. We had to go to baboon school, and you couldn't make eye contact with him. You couldn't make any moves towards him like I would anyway, and you couldn't obviously do anything threatening to the handler. I think his name was Greg or something like that. And especially if you were a woman, because there's like a hierarchy in the, very similar to what's happening.
It sounds like that world is very similar to our own.
Yeah. So it was just really interesting that we had to do all that, and they did a screening of Shakma at a theater like near downtown last year, and I went there with the guy who had owned Shakma, and it was just really interesting. Apparently after that movie, because of the way he had been treated, because he'd been like this guy's pet, the way the handler, he didn't do anything wrong, I guess, but the way they kept making him go after us and chase us, it wrecked him. Like he was never sweet again. So there's like a really sad ending.
Oh no!
I know how that was treated. So he never. I guess he used to. He lived with the guy Cox. Was it Wally Cox? Shoot, I have his book. I don't know why I'm just blanking, but and then after that, he still lived out his life on the property in the wild, but he wasn't human friendly anymore after that. Isn't that sad? It makes me sad to be part of that.
Oh,
but he did try to kill me on the set, though. Not that I wish him ill, but I was terrified, and it wasn't very well managed. I think Florida's right to work. I don't think anybody had any rules, and there was no protections.
I'm assuming it was a pretty low budget project.
Well, it was, but not by today's standards at all. It was because I had done mostly studio films up till then, and I got paid even more than a studio film, but the actual production was super low budget. So it was like, it was different than how low budget today, where people are like, here's a nickel, and and you have to do your own hair and makeup, and you don't get a chair, water, or a dressing room.
Yeah. That was a movie I discovered, I want to say in the early 2000s. I think I just stumbled upon a VHS copy at a video store in Rainsville, Alabama.
Wow.
And just could not believe what I was watching. This kid, this bare-assed baboon slamming against doors. It was like, what? And Roddy McDowell? What?
No. Tell me your thoughts about it.
I just love the whole idea where you're going to take a killer baboon movie and mix it with a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Like, I don't know how you come to the place where you decide to blend those two things together.
Right.
And I just love Roddy McDowell, especially later career Roddy McDowell, when he basically was just like, screw it, I'm just going to do horror, I'm going to do whatever they throw at me.
Totally.
I think some of my favorite stuff of his is like Fright Night and Shakma and things where he's just, probably just a paycheck film for him, but he's still giving it 150%.
Yep, and he's lovely. He wasn't somebody, as we've all encountered on sets, with that resents being there, even though they've accepted the role. He was very gracious, generous, and creative, and completely interested in the people around him.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
Yeah.
So how many times have you seen Shakma?
Oh my goodness. 25 probably. Probably 20, 25 times. When I first discovered it, we watched it religiously. Like, we watched it a lot. I don't own it. Like, I don't own a copy of it, which is a shame. But I would love to see a kick-ass release of Shakma at some point. That would be amazing.
I do have to say that when they invited me to the screening at the end of last year, maybe it was around October last year, it wasn't that long ago, it was amazing because I'd never seen it on the big screen. One of my favorite things that a fan creative thing a fan did don't know why that was so hard to say. They made a video and put it to a song, but it's how many times we all say over, over,
Yeah.
over. I mean, and then then the second thing is people have a drinking game when they watch the movie that every time somebody says over, you have to take a shot. So, I mean, nobody gets out of that game alive because I think we say over like 500 times.
So I think what you're suggesting is that for Scripts Gone Wild, we need to read Shakma, and the social word needs to be over.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a winner right there.
That is a total winner right there. Oh my God, you're a genius. Yeah, it's built in. It's built in.
Currently, like, I think the winner in terms of the worst for our readers was Poltergeist, because the word was Carol Ann, and that word is spoken literally every other line. And there's one monologue where she says it like 20 times. Carol Ann, Carol Ann, Carol Ann.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think Shakma needs to get on the Scripts Gone Wild short list.
It would actually be funny because I mean the dialogue is hilarious while that whole game is going on, and I don't know. But the funniest thing that happened to me, or the most harrowing thing, it's funny in hindsight because I'm alive, but there's a scene where I'm running down a hallway and Shakma is chasing me into the bathroom, and I hit the door, and then he comes through the door, and they're like, it's like a long linoleum hallway. It's at these studios down in Florida, and I'm wearing these little ballet flats that are kind of slippery, and so he's like, I want you to start running, and when you're halfway down the corridor, we're gonna release Typhoon or Shakma. And I was like, that doesn't seem very safe. I'm like, I don't know, like, what if I slip, or what if I trip or something? And the director looks at me in all earnestness and says, don't. And that's low budget filmmaking at its best. And so I was like, all right. So I could have won the Olympics. I did it. I ran so fast, and I hit the door, and and I said, well, what are you going to do? Who's going to help hold the door closed? Because the baboon was going to hit the door too. And then the wrangler was going to come and get him. And they were like, we have a grip back there. And I was like, just one? Like, he's really strong. And so I make it through the door, and literally like 3 seconds later, the baboon hits the door, and it's just a grip and me, and we can barely, and he's gotten the baboon all jacked up, which is part of what ended up destroying the baboon, because it wasn't in his nature to behave that way. Just why we have to be so careful with animals on sets. And I was too young to know better. But anyway, crew members come running from behind the flats. Like, it took like 5 people to hold this, 5 men to hold the door closed. So I always think about that. So ever since then, I've been much more cautious about what people ask me to do. Because I don't want to be in a snuff film. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, our condolences to Shakma and the trauma that he suffered.
I know. It's really sad because, you know what, there's a book that the guy who owned him, wrote about all of his different exotic animals that he had. He was very well known for providing exotic animals for movies. Kind of a la the Tiger King.
Yeah.
Now that I saw that, I was like, I feel like anyway, it's very interesting.
Echoes of that.
Echoes of that, yeah, without making anybody feel bad. Like, trying to be polite here. But it was just really interesting, and I don't know. But I still to this day am so surprised by how many people have seen that movie, because it never was released, really. It never had an official release. It was never like, oh, look, it's in the theater. Oh, look, here's the VHS release. It just got
dumped.
Yeah, kind of. But I didn't even know that it had been dumped. Like, it was just so unceremonious that it wasn't until I started going to Comic-Cons that people would come up and have things from Shakma, and I was like, you've seen this movie? And then I realized tons of people like it.
Yeah. And I figure everybody has heard Nightmare on Elm Street stuff to death. So I'm gonna talk to you about some more obscure stuff.
Okay.
because I've got a friend who worships another film that you were in that I want to talk to you about, which I also am a big fan of, a little ditty called Force 5.
Oh my God.
Yes. I'm a
Yes.
big Robert Klaus fan.
Me too.
And that film is bonkers great. And I'm just curious if you tell us a little bit about Force 5, how that came about, and what you remember from that experience.
Oh my God. Okay, I can honestly say this is the best. You are literally the first person that's ever asked me about that movie. And I'm super grateful. So I was a teenager. I just graduated high school. And I was a huge, I'd been taking Taekwondo since, I don't know, on and off since I was 8 years old. So
I took it for many years.
Yeah. Super into martial arts. And so, oh, that's awesome. Do you still take it by chance?
I stopped taking it when I was 21. I did get my black belt, but then I stopped not long after that and just have never picked it back up.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So I was a huge fan of all martial arts films and Bruce Lee and obviously Robert Klaus because of Enter the Dragon. And so I went to read for this movie and I was super excited, and Robert Klaus was so nice, and I got it. And I was, I didn't know really how to read a script and know whether it was good or not. I'd done, a couple episodes of television and some plays. So I obviously knew if you read you could read a play by a famous author and, playwright and know that it was good, but I didn't know about this movie. And so, anyway, the couple things that I remember the most, my wardrobe, it was basically a sheet with some cheap, full stencil on the front. They'd sort of sewn the sleeves. I remember the lead actress was the Hanes pantyhose model that was in all those Legs commercials. She was real pretty. And, so I remember that. And I remember that the lead guy, Joe Lewis, was, it was very nice. And he was very famous at that time for, he was a famous kickboxer, I believe.
I think you're right, yeah.
He was a famous kickboxer at the time. But he got a little handsy, and so my dad was a Marine, and one day I was like, Dad, this guy is coming up to me on the set, and my dad was like, okay. So my dad came to the set and scared the crap out of me. My dad was really scary. And he didn't do anything other than shake his hand really hard and say that he hoped he was treating his daughter with respect. And he was, oh, yes, sir, yes, sir, I am. And then he never even looked at me again. He wouldn't even talk to me. He would he'd see me coming and he'd run away. But I just remember that I had so much fun doing that, and I was so excited that I was making a movie. And then honestly, I've never seen the whole thing. I've only seen bits and pieces, and every time I see it, I just go, oh, it's so awful. It's so awful.
Awful in the best way.
Yeah.
Awful in the best way.
Oh, it's like the cult leader was fantastic, and just everybody, and it had that late 70s, early 80s feel where everybody talks like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just has that feel, and I need to watch it. I mean, I remember I had one of the scenes. I think one of the scenes was on my demo reel early on, because it was, it was that Buck Rogers. I didn't have much else to put on the demo reel. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me your thoughts about it.
Oh, I love it. I love late 70s, early 80s, even all through the late 80s, crazy martial arts action movies. I love Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Samurai Cop, and all of those films to me are just kind of one of the same in terms of just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. And you're right about that. There's a very sort of low-key sing-song kind of acting that happens in those films, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, me too. They're my guilty pleasure. I've seen every Jeff Speakman, Cynthia Rothrock.
Yep.
I watched John Woo movies before they were, John Woo movies. They were just, really cool martial arts movies. And yeah, I love, oh my gosh. And then I also got to do Blood Fist 4 Die Trying with John the Dragon Wilson. And that was also exciting. So I feel excited that I've had the opportunity to be in 2 martial arts films, 2 really, you know, they're so bad they're great.
Yeah.
Martial arts movies.
You got to be in a Klaus movie. That's amazing.
I know, right? And he was lovely, gentleman, kind, serious, loved what he was doing, and I think anyway, it's very exciting that I got to work with him, you know, and grill him about Enter the Dragon, and you know, and he had great stories. And
yeah, I would imagine he would have some pretty incredible stories.
Yeah.
You know, something we always talk about doing here, but we've not done one yet, but we've talked about doing a series of old after school special readings. And you happen to be in a very memorable after school special called She Drinks a Little.
Yes. Very daring for its time, because
yes.
People weren't talking about women as alcoholics.
Yeah.
They weren't.
How did that come about? Was that before or after Force 5?
It was right after.
Right after Force 5?
Yeah, because I was still a teenager, but I think I did. I know Buck Rogers was the very first thing I'd done besides a commercial, and I did that the summer after I graduated from high school, and then I did Force 5, and then I did She Drinks a Little.
Well, so I have always been obsessed with the Golden Girls.
Yes.
I am a 3-time Golden Girls trivia champion, and one of my favorite supporting characters in the Golden Girls, who I have a mug of, was a character named Barbara Thorndike, played by the great Bonnie Bartlett.
Oh.
And so I have to ask what it was like working with Bonnie Bartlett.
Oh, I love that you love her. First of all, she's brilliant. She's just, I mean, as a young actress, and I hadn't gone to drama school yet. I started the next year. She was like sitting in a master class, watching somebody. She was very kind and gentle with me, and yet she was always very focused, and she stayed in character. She was very much into that technique, and there was something about watching somebody stay in character like that, but was still able to be very generous to those around her, because I find sometimes when actors stay in character, they can either do one or the other. And so I learned a lot from her, that I can keep, 75% of myself in character at all time and still interact, if need be, in a kind and generous way. And she was so brilliant in that. She was brilliant in everything. She just, she disappeared. Like, she was able to unzip her own skin and step into that character and just let it live in the room. And the other thing that happened while we were filming that, we were filming in Venice, and we were filming one of the scenes in the house the day that Ronald Reagan got shot.
Oh, wow.
And the producer came in, and we were filming, and said, I need everybody to gather around. And he said, the president's been shot. We don't know if he's going to make it. And I want everyone to go home and be with their loved ones. And they just packed it up, and we went home. And we stayed home for 2 days, and then we went back. But I remember that a lot about that.
Oh, and you worked with her did you work with her on St. Elsewhere also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I loved working on that show.
Yeah.
That was a really fun character to get to play. And it's fun to get to do more than, because I do so many episodics, which I'm super grateful for. But when you get to do multiple on a show, it's so nice, because you really get to feel your character grow and experiment a little bit more, see where it goes. And that was a really fun character to play.
Yeah. So you had a pretty like dynamite run in like the early to mid 80s with like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Nightmare on Elm Street, Silverado, Better Off Dead.
Yep.
So as a enormous fan of Westerns, which are my favorite genre, I'm going to ask about the one that interests me the most, which is Silverado. I used to worship this film when I was younger. I'm a big Lawrence Kasdan fan.
He's brilliant.
What was that experience like? I mean, talk about a dream cast from top to bottom. Like,
yeah, amazing. Well, first of all, again, I was really young, and I'd gone in to read for it, and I'm in the waiting room. My role was like every famous young actress at the time, and so I was like, all right, this is just an exercise in just going in and doing my best, because there's no way in hell I'm ever getting this part, because I'm the least famous person in this room. And when they said I got the part, and this is back in the day when people could walk you all the way to the gate at the airport. My younger sister, we're Irish twins, she's like a year younger. She walks me to the gate, and I go, you know what? I have a fear. I think they've mixed up my resume with somebody else's picture, and they meant to hire the other person, and I'm going to get there, and they're going to realize the mistake, and you're going to have to pick me up at the airport. And she goes, okay, well, if that is what happens, I'll pick you up. Because I was like, I don't think that they meant to hire me. And then it was just magical, because the script was so magical, and the entire crew and all the actors, and everyone just laughed all the time, even though everyone was very serious and focused as well. And because on location, you shoot Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday's the day off. So every Saturday night, somebody would host a Motown dance party. Most of the crew had worked on The Big Chill. A lot of the actors had been in The Big Chill.
Yeah. And
so a lot of the actors had rented houses in and around Santa Fe where we shot it. And every Saturday night was a huge dance party, playing all Motown. And it was just, and if we got off early enough, a lot of us would go out to dinner together. And Brian Dennehy it was Jeff Fahey, me, Kevin Costner, and a couple other actors out to dinner one night. And he said, you guys all really, really need to take this in, how special this experience is, because movies just aren't like this. It's not this much fun. This is a magical experience. And I'm speaking from years of experience. And I was like, yeah, I think studio film, they're all going to be amazing. And he was totally right. It was magic from top to bottom. Just the crew was amazing. The wardrobe, the hair and makeup, the working with those actors, and then Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah.
I mean, he just loves actors, and he loves words, and he loves creating, and he loves the magic. Like he's just watching you like this, like waiting for you to make the magic happen. And so he makes you feel empowered to be the best you can be. And it was definitely high point.
I feel like they realized how much fun that sort of environment was on The Big Chill, and they were like, we're just going to do that again.
Yes, I think so. I think so, because they talked about that was a magical experience for all of them. And then those actors, like Kevin Kline and Jeff Goldblum, they were like, wow, this is like twice, the lightning has struck twice. With like from top to bottom, it was just fun. And at these dance parties, like everybody's friends, like Diane Keaton came to visit and came to the dance party and danced all night one night, and saw all these people from LA and New York, and then just every day on this, Santa Fe is so beautiful, and it was snowing, and the horses and the town, like it was just a really transformative experience of I don't know, it was just transformative. It was really beautiful. I'm so glad you love that movie. I love Westerns too. They're up there as my favorite.
I'm currently involved in a 3-part podcast, the Screen Drafts podcast, where we're doing 3 different eras of Westerns and ranking them. And so I am very excited for Silverado to make my middle list, because I love that film very much.
Oh my gosh, what's your top one?
We just drafted Westerns through 1963, and my top one was, actually, I don't know if I can say that yet. It's a secret.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, don't say it. I love Westerns, and I love any of the old ones, and I grew up watching them with my dad, and then after Silverado, I got to do a TV pilot. I was so sad it didn't go to series, but it was called Independence, and it was with John Bennett Perry and Isabella Hoffman, who went on to do Dear... Oh my gosh. Anyway, she did a sitcom for, I think it was Dear John. No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Clearly, I can't think of anything today. It's quarantine brain. But it was so much fun, and I was so sad that ABC didn't pick it up and run with it, because that would have been really fun. And then I have the new Western that just came out, Badland. That's on Netflix.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it premiered in the top 10 for 2 weeks on Netflix. Right at the beginning of quarantine. Yeah. And it was in the top 4 movies for a week. And I mean, it was just at the beginning of quarantine, so there wasn't much to do about it, but it was super exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to check that out, because I love a good Western. They just don't make
people like that
anymore.
It's got a great cast.
Let's see. Well, I know one pseudo-Western that you did, and I have to ask you about it, because I don't know anyone who's ever worked with Chuck Norris and not had a Chuck Norris story.
Right. Okay.
I'm talking about Walker. Texas Ranger.
Texas Ranger. Okay. I played an FBI agent who was infiltrating a heroin ring, who gets addicted to heroin, and he saves me. And I weigh or at the time anyway, before quarantine, like 102 pounds. And God bless him. He had to pick me up and carry me. And he was just like, "Could you help me? You're so heavy." I can't believe he was all upset because I was too heavy for him to carry. And I was like, okay, I'm like weigh like a banana. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to help you with this. But so I was like, hold, like how like little marsupials like kind of like hold you in a way like that. Uh-huh. Just like I was trying to help him out. Yeah. So that's my Walker Texas Ranger story. But he was very nice. He was so nice, and the whole cast and crew, they'd all been in Texas for a long time, and they were just like, I don't know, like it was an interesting experience, because I think they'd all been living there and bought houses there, and just they weren't like really a part of Los Angeles. It was
like their own little world.
They were in their own little world. Yeah, it was really interesting. Very nice people. It's just funny. I just remember like, for somebody to tell a girl that she's like too heavy, like it's like, dude, you never say that to a girl.
Yeah. I like how I asked you what your Chuck Norris experience was. Is he called me fat.
He called me fat. He said I was too heavy to carry. And I was like, dude, come on. You're like this like hero. Like, fuck it up. Suck up. Carry me.
You should be able to handle that, Chuck.
Yeah.
One of your newer films, which I'm actually a fan of, is Hunter's Moon.
Did you see it?
I have seen Hunter's Moon. I saw a screener of it a while back. Was it? Might have been. Was it last year? Might have been last year. But I saw a screener of it, and I'm a big werewolf fan in general. Like, that's kind of my favorite subgenre of horror films. And I also like Jay Moore and Thomas Jane. And so, how did that film come about?
Michael Casey, who wrote it and directed it, he also wrote Hangman, that Al Pacino movie that came out last year, before, reached out to me and he was like, would you want to play the mom in my, monster thriller? I was like, all right, send me the script. And I really, really liked the script, because nothing in the script what it appears to be. And Jay Moore was attached. And I'm just a huge fan of him. And at the time, Thomas Jane wasn't attached to it. I'm a fan of his too, but when I was initially made that decision, in fact, initially it was, I forget who was initially, anyway, it doesn't matter. And then, we went and shot it, and I haven't seen it yet. I have a hard time watching myself. I don't really see.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, and only because and I've seen Shockma now.
Yes.
And I mean, I see bits and pieces of the movies. I think I'm just so invested in them that I have a hard time disassociating enough to just look at it and go, who cares whether I think I'm good in it, or who cares if anybody thinks I'm good in it? I already did it. It's done. Move on.
Yeah.
I gave it my best. I'm just not there yet. I'm not that involved. But I loved the script so much. I don't know that it came out as good as the script was. I hope it did. But Jay Moore, I know, is fantastic. The little bits that I've seen, and the daughters are amazing, and the bad guys.
Yeah, I thought it's so rare that any even moderately decent werewolf film comes out. So when I find one that I like, it's like, oh wow, okay, someone actually put something into it, and I really dug it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It reminded me a lot of that film from the '90s, Bad Moon.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It had a similar vibe to me as that film, and I really think that's an underrated werewolf film too. But yeah, but you haven't seen it yet, so you don't know.
I've seen the whole thing. I've only seen bits and pieces. And the other thing is, it came out, the same with Badlands, they came out within like a month of each other, right at the beginning of quarantine. And it just, there was no way, we couldn't do a screening, we couldn't do a premiere, lousy publicity, like the publicity departments on both really screwed the pooch, and so they're kind of heartbreaking. It's kind of heartbreaking to me because it was really exciting that they were both coming out. But I know that Badland has been really well received, and I just think Hunter's Moon just hasn't had any publicity.
Yeah.
I just think like that the company that released it just dumped all their movies and went, it's quarantine.
Yeah. I think I only heard about it. I think I saw I don't know if I saw like an early poster design or something. I saw some early artwork for it, and that's what prompted me to reach out and see about getting a screen, because I work with a lot of different film festivals.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I heard nothing about it. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's on Amazon. And I was like, it's on Amazon. Okay. Like that happened very quickly. Yeah.
I know once a week I post, Hunter's Moon is on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to watch it. But I feel like I'm just like shouting into a board. So yeah. I'm just like, it hasn't gone beyond my friend circle.
So I'm curious. I have to ask one question about this, or I'll get killed. What's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film?
Well, I'm gonna say I always say glibly the one I'm in, the first one. But I do think the first one, I just think very rarely are the remakes ever as good, or not remakes, but the, sequel. Sequels as good as, or it's not that they're not as good. It's just that there's nothing ever as dynamic as the original telling of a story, in my opinion.
Yeah.
However, I love New Nightmare. I think like that meta telling of it, he was able to just stand it on its head, not trying to recreate anything, and in doing that, it was another original story being told, in my opinion.
Well, and I don't know that any horror director ever did that better than he did anyway. Like, just in terms of like reinventing the genre, how many times? Like 4 or 5 times over his career? Like,
it's true. And you know what I think part of it is? He never looked at it like, I'm making a horror film. I'm making a film. And I think there's a difference. Like, I mean, I haven't actually done that many horror films, but the ones that I've done subsequently, especially in the last like couple of years, I did a couple that just, I don't know. I was a little disappointed with the experiences, but that is that they're set out to make a horror film, and it's like, no. The horror is in the storytelling and in the script. It's not in that. It's when you're acting, or you're on the crew, or you're the director, or you're the cinematographer. I mean, yeah, there's a few tricks like look up if somebody's down, because then the audience is going to be look the other way. But other than that, like you get completely invested in the story. You're really telling a tale, and I mean, that's what I am as an actor. I'm a storyteller. It doesn't matter the genre. And then it's the lighting and the effects and things that help make the story scarier. And so anyway, Wes was great at he was just a filmmaker, and the genre he happened to tell a lot of his stories in was in the horror and thriller world. And so, you know, he was impeccable with his timing and lighting and, you know, helping me, you know, like when I worked with him, helping me mold certain things to do that would help heighten the story he's trying to tell. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah, and I don't feel like anyone did it better than him, and I feel like that's sorely missed in horror films right now. I'm curious, out of all the films you've done, which is the one that you wish people knew more, or the one that you wish people would discover or rediscover?
Can I have more than one?
Sure.
Okay. I wish people would rediscover Powwow Highway, which was a movie I did in '87 that was produced by George Harrison from the Beatles, handmade films. It's based on a book called Powwow Highway. It has a brilliant cast, and it's this beautiful story it's this beautiful Native American story, and it's all based on real people. Like, I play this crazy Texan named Rabbit Layton, who's a real person that went on this journey with these guys. And I mean, it won the jury prize at Sundance. I think it won something at Toronto Film Festival the year it came out. And I can't remember, but because this was before actors went to those festivals, they would just, you know what I mean? They weren't a place that actors went. You just sent the movie. But I really, really think, and it's just a timely, beautiful movie that the issues discussed in this film are as relevant today as they were when we made the film and 100 years before that. Yeah. So that one, and well, I wish people would watch Badland and Hunter's Moon and see some of my new stuff. That would be like super exciting. And but yes, Powwow Highway. Have you seen it?
I've not seen Powwow Highway.
You would love it. It's this timely tale, and it's A. Martinez, Gary Farmer, Wes Studi, Graham Greene. Oh my God, the list goes on and on. And
that's an all-star cast already.
Yeah, all the music's by Robbie Robertson. Wow. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, and I wish people would rediscover that.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, I wonder if it's available. Is it available to own right now, you think?
Yeah, it's not. It's very difficult to find. It's like Better Off Dead. Better Off Dead is difficult to find. Although I think Better Off Dead has just found its way to Netflix finally. But it's more like you have to find it on YouTube and places like that, because I don't know why, and I don't know why Better Off Dead never really made it to a good streaming source either. I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of
popular
sense.
That movie is.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense either. So when this drops, it will be after the My Girl read. So I guess I'm going to ask you.
Oh, yes.
What is your relationship? Do you have a relationship with the movie My Girl at all?
Well, I have only seen it once, but I am going to watch it again before we do it. I bawled my eyes out during that film. And I remember loving the Jamie Lee's character and how much life and ultimately groundingness she brought to this family that was like they were grieving and not seeing each other, and she like, okay, everybody stop. let's pull this together. And I remember sobbing up there. That was up there with like my Gallipoli, Ordinary People, My Girl, as far as sobbing in a theater and having to be ushered out by someone.
It was my first. I was 9 years old, and it was the first time I consciously remember crying in a movie. And I remember it vividly, crying in that movie.
I know. I'm so excited for the reading of it, and yeah, it's so funny. I was just reading the script today and just looking at it and thinking, wow, what a good script it was. Top of it, like, it just reads like a great book.
But it's different than the movie in a lot of ways. Like in the movie, there's the character of Dan Aykroyd's brother, played by Richard Major, and he's not in the script. In the script, Veda has a sister.
Yep.
And so they cut out the sister and added an uncle for some reason.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because it's been so long since I saw the movie. I was like, wait, Wendy, there's sister?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. And then I was like, God, you know what? I was just so upset through the whole movie. Apparently, I forgot that there was a sister. But now I feel better knowing that
the rest of it is pretty much the same except for that. And then everything else is pretty much the same.
And is everybody super excited to do it?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I think this one's going to be insane. I think this one's going to be wild.
Are any of them ever not insane?
Well, you know, we've had a couple that were on like we did Rear Window.
Ooh.
And Rear Window turned into more of just like an awesome read. Like we were still drinking, but it's just such a great script, and it was a great cast, and we just were like reading the script and getting a kick out of just listening to it being read.
See, I like that. That would be fun. This might turn out to be that though, because this story is very engrossing, and it's unlike when we did Die Hard. I mean, that's first of all the action, and that's just built-in fun. Like there's not, like it's hard to like be too serious with Die Hard. Although it was so much fun. That was so much fun. And
it was. That was insane.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda, thank you for meeting with us for a happy hour. I thought that went reasonably well.
I do too, and thank you for having me. You're lovely, and I'm so glad you invited me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you did it. I'm going to do a couple quick little plugs for folks who, let's see, so this is going to air after My Girl. So then our next read at that point will be Flight of the Navigator on June 10th, which is an all-time favorite. We've got the kid from that film, Joey Kramer, is actually participating in the read, which is a lot of fun.
That's great.
And yeah, I think that's all that's coming up right now. You can check out us. I don't know how to speak right now. You can check us out on the socials at Scripts Gone Wild, scriptsgonewild.com. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/scriptsgonewild. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you soon.